and once it gets, we go live. Once it comes up, then I'll post a link, and then we'll. Okay. Oh, good. I got my eyes closed. Sweet. Awesome. Mute that. All right, let me hit the music. You guys ready?
I was ready. Boss.
Just when you thought every day was a weekend because of the quarantine and the coronavirus, just when you thought we were gone forever, after 5 years, guys, 5 years, we are back. This is Talkin Wrestling. We are live via Zoom and YouTube. So come check us out. Check out our broadcasts. And yes, that is Loverboy working for the weekend. Bring us into this Wednesday night. It's a little after 7 o'clock. It's time to talk wrestling. What's up, everybody? I'm Rob Prebish, Prebish here. With me, as usual, I've got Mike Foss and John Goodbody. We are back.
Yeah, buddy.
5 years, man. It's been a long time.
Where was our last episode at?
Probably here in my living room.
Was it at Garden Grove, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was Garden Grove.
Maybe. But yeah, it's been a long time, guys, and it's a very unique situation that we're all in. Obviously, you know,
We were ahead of the game, fellas. Ahead of the game.
I was thinking about that today. You know, like before Flow Wrestling Live, there was Talkin Wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, before Jason Bryan had Matt Talk Online and watched it as how it's blowing up, there was Talkin Wrestling. You know, we had Bill Swink before anybody had Bill Swink.
We were like Mother Love Bone to Nirvana.
We had Bill Swink at Third Street Diner.
Yeah, and that was like right after I freaking blew my knee out.
And we had Ross there. Yeah, it was nice. On the second floor there. They put us in the second floor.
Second floor, they let us use their Wi-Fi. Yeah. They were kind of nice to us. It was kind of
General Patton got his hand raised. Remember that?
What's that?
General Patton, remember?
Oh yeah, General Patton won.
He's the Talkin Wrestling
Over
military
Rollins.
general champion.
You know, and the funny thing was, like, I thought that was like one of our best episodes, and people were like, that was stupid.
Oh.
Why was it stupid? Military leaders fighting. It was awesome.
You know who appreciated that? Keel.
Well, you know, because Keel's Keel. He's kind of weird like me. So, fellas, what have you been up to, man?
Fosse, you go.
Well, since we're under quarantine, trying to keep up with kids, trying to get the underclassmen to finish, you know, the year with the assignments that are posted online, and then a lot of yard work. That's about. What's that?
A little gout.
Well, they found out it wasn't gout. It's just a Achilles tendonitis. So I got that going for me.
By the way, those that are watching, you can type comments in. I'll try to keep a little window open on the YouTube page so we can kind of, you know, see what's going on. Anyway, I'm sorry. Goodbody, what have you been up to, man?
Pretty much the same thing as Foss. Like a lot of virtual meetings, a lot of touch and base with parents and students, and you know, obviously handling a lot of, you know, special ed paperwork, and you know, just still trying to, you know, teach a little content. Well, not really teach it, but like kind of give it out and have kids learn individually. So, trying to stay in touch with our athletes too. Just some weekly check-ins and, trying to keep busy around the house, working out a little bit, trying to get my fat butt in shape a little bit. And, it's just, I'm getting a little stir crazy.
Yeah.
I like to go, kind of be on the move, like to see a lot of people, and it's not happening.
Yeah, I know the feeling, guys. I'm basically, pretty much the same boat as you guys, trying to get some workouts in. It sucks that the gyms are all closed and we can't practice, we can't wrestle, and trying to engage my students into doing some activities. So like I created a warm up and a strength training and a cool down video for my students where I'm basically showing them what to do, and it's pretty funny actually because it's me like bounding around the parking lot of my building, so it's awesome.
You've been I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but you've been doing some stuff for like VAWA YouTube channel and stuff like that.
I have, and you notice that I found the VAWA banner, one of the old ones.
How far
does not
did you have to dig to find it?
It was under, because people have been giving me crap about my second bedroom as being like a storage unit.
I being one of them.
Yes. I decided to clean it up, and like under a box there was this banner. So
you had to blow like dust off of it.
Who do we complain to about the banner and the VAWA logo sometimes not including the Eastern Shore?
That is a bit of a misstep there.
Well, this is also the old banner, so we use the 2 up, 2 down logo now. Anyway,
which is a much better logo.
Yes.
Much longer than that sign.
Yes. Somebody who just texted me. Oh, Swink's watching us. Hey.
Yeah.
Somebody's got absolutely nothing better to do.
But anyway, getting back to the original question, can you tell that we're all stir crazy and a little ADD? I've been doing a web series that's on the Virginia USA Wrestling webpage called Getting the Edge, and I'm trying to put out some things that help wrestlers with the psychological side of the sport. We tend to focus solely on the physical with different techniques and training and all that. I've got to use this nice master's in sports psychology degree, so I just put up
cheap plug for yourself, Prebish. Cheap plug.
Nice work out of you.
Shameless plug. So the third episode 1 was talking about goal setting and why it's important, and talking about process over performance goals. The second one was talking about the action plan and taking a page out of some local coaches using journaling. I know that Sonny Close with Predator, he's huge on journaling, and I think it's like one of the best ideas out there for young wrestlers to kind of write everything down. So the action plan kind of takes the journaling another step up. And the third one that I posted yesterday, it's a long one. It's called Wrestling with Anxiety. And I talk a lot about the issue of anxiety in wrestling, where it comes from, how it develops, what the results are. And I talk about like a lot of personal things because, I am a wrestler that deals with a lot of anxiety. Well, I'm a person in general that deals with a lot of anxiety. But when it comes to competition, I believe that my anxiety really got the best of me in high school and in college, and it really stymied my career. So anyway, that's why I'm getting there.
I've only watched the first episode. It was solid. It was pretty fun to watch. I mean, obviously as coaches and stuff, you kind of develop, how you want to implement your kids a goal set and, kind of give them different outlines and different methods of way they can goal set. Right. So it was kind of fun to just kind of hear you break down some things and talk about the importance of it all. Definitely going to listen to the anxiety one. I mean, I have had one of our athletes reach out to me yesterday, just about, the mental side of the sport, about how he feels like he hasn't accomplished what he needed to accomplish yet. And how he feels like he, last 2 seasons, he hasn't lived up to his ability. And it was pretty shocking that this athlete reached out. And when we talk about him a lot, we talk about the mental side of the sport. So I'm definitely interested in hearing what you have to say about that, because there's tons of content about that now, but I think a lot of people are just trying to make money off of it, but that's a different story.
Where is it available?
It's on the Virginia USA Wrestling YouTube page. There's also Brian Hazard, head coach at Robinson, is doing some interviews with the Virginia College wrestling coach.
All that, yeah.
Ian Squires and Ross DeTomer, two of the guys that I coach with at St. Chris and the Richmond Wrestling Club, have posted technique.
Who's that poor little 106 pounder who Ross just beats the crap out of all the time?
That is Jack Parker. Jack Parker weighed like about 90 pounds this year as a ninth grader and was 7 seconds away from making the semifinals at our state tournament against a kid that outweighed him by about 20 pounds. It was 7 seconds to like a 2-0 win and got Peterson to his back. I mean, the kid has got fire. He is just, I love the kid. I love wrestling with him. He keeps going.
We're at Beast of the East. That kid's getting worked by Ross. We're at Escape the Rock. That poor kid is getting beat up by Ross. And then I log into YouTube. That poor kid is getting beat up by Ross.
Well, you know, and a lot of times, like during the season, you know, I would wrestle with Jack too, and because like, you know, he just has a gas tank, man. He wants to. His desire to be the best is incredible, and like, you know, these jumbo size 106 pounders would come up to the coaches after matches like, hey man, tell your 6-pounder not to get down on himself, that once he gets to be full size, he's going to be killing people. And it's true. I mean, the kid is he's got a great future ahead of him, and I'm excited, you know, to have the opportunity to work with him. So that's, you know, it's been a blessing. Anyway, so
what's our first topic?
I mean, we could go anywhere. I mean, you know, there have been some. Let's start. Well, one of the videos was Donald Motley showing his warm up routine. Let's start with Coach Motley, Coach of the Year, Oscar Smith head coach, 6A state champions. The man gets after it. He gets the
well deserved.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has those kids everywhere. Funny thing was, like during Fargo, I'm sitting there catching a flight out to Las Vegas to visit my fiance. She was out there working, and I look over and there's Coach Motley with his army of guys taking him out to Fargo. Yeah. And here I was going on vacation. He was just putting in the time. Yeah. And he did that all summer. You know, he's a big supporter of VAWA. He brought his kids everywhere. Their schedule was probably overall the toughest in the state. I feel like ours is close in New Kent. St. Chris has a tough schedule. Other teams have a tough schedule, but Oscar Smith was everywhere.
Yeah. He's he gets them going. You know, he's got them all dialed in. They're all bought into his program. They're super nice kids too. You know, as hard as they work and they want to beat the snot out of you on the mat, and you know, afterwards you can joke around. Like, I've spent a lot of time with those kids in the last couple of years at Fargo, and they are some of the nicest kids that you'll ever meet. And, you know, he's got them working really hard. So props to Donald Motley for Coach of the Year. Eventually, they'll have that big dinner in Hanover.
That's in the fall now, correct?
The Hall of Fame dinner.
Yeah.
So eventually, like, you know, they'll have that going, and he'll get his nice award, well-deserved award. Yeah. So Motley, keep doing what you're doing, man.
Bullock's going to Michigan, right?
Yeah, Bullock's going to Michigan, which is great. I saw what's his name, Midget transferred to Gardner Webb,
which was perfect.
Yeah, I think he was tearing it up too, man. He was pinning everybody.
Yeah.
So
he's so explosive, and you know, he's just fun to watch. Very dynamic. You know, had some upper body stuff and had some slick stuff, slide by stuff. What about Zion Carpenter? I wonder where that kid's gonna end up. I know his brother wrestled JUCO with one of our kids for a little bit.
Now he's doing MMA, so he's doing fighting and pretty successful. I mean, since we're talking like college stuff, I mean, what's your take on the whole end of the NCAA season?
I mean, it's just upsetting. Like, obviously a necessity. Obviously it was, you know, needed at the time and smart. But I mean, you had kids that like the D3 nationals that were there warming up and like training, and so it's pretty tough, and like NAIA, I think they got their national tournament. But in NCAA wrestling, I mean, a lot of those kids didn't get the opportunity to put like their stamp on their season. We had BC the Prad, wrestling his final season. Even though he had another year of eligibility, he's choosing to, move forward with, some injuries and stuff. But
Sure.
I mean, he was going to hopefully end it with a bang, especially after his ACCs. You had Joey Prada.
Yeah. And he was going to have Killian Cardinale in the first round. Go figure. You go all the way to Minnesota to wrestle a Virginia guy. I wasn't too happy about that pairing. But yeah, Joey, last year he was third in the ACC. And this year, he really started putting it together. His Vegas tournament was huge. And I watched his match his last match at ACCs and texted him literally 2 minutes after he got off the mat, congratulating him. And his response was in all caps, lots of exclamation points. And his first takedown in that match, he got behind the guy, and it took 15, 20 seconds to secure the takedown. So I had to bust his chops a little bit. I'm like, what took you so long to get the takedown? And it was screw you, Prebish. He's like, I got it though, didn't I? I'm like, yeah, you're right.
I was thinking about those coaches. I've been listening to a lot of interviews and, just reading a lot about what the coaches had to go through during that time period. Obviously, we coached at the high school level. The closest I can think about delivering news like that affected wrestling and affected a season was when we had that snowstorm. And it was I think the last season of when we were doing Talkin Wrestling.
Right.
Yeah, and they did the single elimination.
Yeah, I mean, that's the closest. I couldn't imagine delivering that news to those student athletes.
That's very small comparatively, but
yeah, heck, I mean, think about it. Scholarship opportunities, what those kids get because of the incentives and stuff for placing in these tournaments and all that, and and obviously dreams.
Ohio canceled their state tournament because it was late. Pennsylvania and Jersey barely got it in. And then it was okay, are they going to have an HSCA? Well, we're going to postpone it. Okay, when are they going to postpone it to? Everything is just it's put everything on hold, And obviously all clubs are shut down, and I don't like this being in limbo. They canceled the U.S. Open for the veterans and the Western, and the UWW cadets and juniors. And I mean, you put a lot of people in limbo, and it sucks.
I mean, you saw it with Frank Molinaro retiring, because that year for waiting for the Olympics.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
segueing into that, I mean, what do you think about the moving of the Olympics to next year? Is that going to make a difference? Anyone?
I think you might lose some guys. I think some more guys might retire.
Right.
Some of the athletes saying it's a blessing is maybe they're a little beat up, maybe they're a little injured, maybe, they're changing, training situations, recently in the news. But I mean, obviously you got to think about it in other sports too, and other athletic avenues like track and swimming. And
maybe they'll get off the guys that are on their 1 year ban or on the second year of their 2 year ban. Hey, they can Olympics now.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, those guys who were busted for roids and PEDs. Yeah. So do you think? I mean, is college? I mean, I know this isn't wrestling. Is college football are they gonna have college football on time?
I think so.
What do you think, boss?
I think it'll be on time. It'll be the question is whether will it be on with fans in the stands or will it just be played?
Right.
It's gonna be the biggest question. And will people take if it is fans if fans are able to go? Will people be able to will then choose to go because there's still a chance or there's still a possibility?
Right.
And that has an effect on the wrestling because that's where you're going to lose programs if not Virginia, but if college football is not able to go, that's a lot of money that you're losing.
Yeah,
that's a gray issue. That's a tough issue.
Yeah.
But I think it'll go. It's just, will it be what we are used to? I don't know about that.
Yeah, and I mean, think about football really drives all T1 programs. their athletic departments. They need that money, that revenue from football. Are we going to see a change in college wrestling and in these Olympic type sports? So it's scary times.
To kind of track back to what we were talking about, I saw that D2 listed, they gave 10 names to guys. I don't know if it was like top 10 seeds. They labeled and named those kids All-Americans. Right. I think they did it at the Division III level too. I'm not 100% sure. I only saw D2.
Yeah, because what's his name from Averett? They had 2 guys that were named All-American. Ferrum had 2.
Braswell and Mosley, right? The Culpepper kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Engelman from Ferrum. I guess they labeled them All-American, but will they consider themselves All-American?
Probably not.
Yeah.
And it's sad because think about like all those kids that were just geared up for that weekend and to have it taken.
That's really tough.
So,
do you think D1 does that?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it because there'll be too. You'll see Flow Wrestling and all the freaking internet boards blowing up, and I mean this was going to be Iowa's year. I think that they were going to knock Penn State off.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody would say like, okay, we're going to name them the national champions because they had these guys seated at this level, and that's what we're going to call them All-Americans. They're going to look at that and be like, that doesn't mean anything because we didn't sort it out on the mat.
Some funny things have been going on during this quarantine though. Like obviously I'm like working downstairs and like I have like a lot of Flow Wrestling streaming, like Flow Wrestling 24/7, a lot of like those documentaries and all that Flow films and all that stuff. And so I'm sitting downstairs watching a lot of wrestling content. And so Mel will come downstairs like from work or taking a break from work, and she'll see the Brands brothers. I think they're on there constantly. Yeah. And she's always cracking jokes about how they're like they're in every single documentary. They're always involved. They always have their fingers in everything. Always have their fingers in the pulse. So like it's just pretty funny that like all this content, they're always around.
They're never smiling. They're never happy. Yeah, that's
intense fellers.
Mel also says that wrestlers, like the group of wrestling, were a cult. So I don't know.
I mean, to do what we do, it's kind of, a little crazy.
Yeah.
But, I'd rather do that.
Tight-knit group of people.
I would like to say like a fraternity sorority mix. Yeah. Not really a cult, but technically, let's be honest with ourselves. We all drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
We're a little crazy. Some of us are crazier than others, and I would consider myself one of the crazier ones. But yeah. So we saw a lot of coaching changes at the college ranks. A couple programs have started in Virginia. What, at Emory and Henry, the Salem or Roanoke College.
Yeah, Roanoke College is starting a program. Congrats to Coach Yetzer out there. Nate's a great guy. Top shelf, going to do great.
Riggs takes over, and that's awesome for him.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really cool campus, too. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Riggsy taking over at Fair. I'm excited about that. Yeah. Shenandoah starting a program. Sing your song, Foss.
Oh, yep. Shenandoah. That is it. Yeah. A lot of these D3 programs, I'm hoping my alma mater, Bridgewater, will maybe start a program and do it right. You have to do it right if you're going to start it. A couple of programs did not. You have to get a good person in there, a good wrestling person.
Yeah, and
do it right.
It also makes sense to, since women's wrestling is really growing. I think that's your ticket really to keep the Title IX balance.
Exactly, I was about to say the exact same thing.
And we have to give opportunity to the girls, and that's actually another great topic is VHSL not sanctioning girls wrestling. We have esports, so we have video games, but we still don't have girls wrestling. We have the numbers. I don't know why they won't do it.
It's increasing across the state, and you see other states do it now. Pennsylvania has a little bit more involvement in women's wrestling. New Jersey starting programs with the high school level. I mean, I know VHSL in Virginia, we're trying. We're trying.
I think that's going to happen soon. I really do. I think there's other things that VHSL is working on right now that are kind of overlapping, or not overlapping is a bad word, probably overshadowing women's wrestling, but I think it's going to happen
I hope so.
soon.
I hope so too.
That might be a good topic down the road, is how you would do that. Like,
Yeah.
what would be the structure of that? That's probably too much to get into tonight.
Yeah,
given what we have, but that'd be a good talking point.
we could probably, I could try to get some of the Volleyball women's coaches and directors in on that.
Okay.
Because they have a lot of great ideas. And they're all, for the most part, crazy Greco people too. So, we
You Greco people.
Rebecca.
Yeah, that crazy Greco stuff. We're all a little weird about it, but
Hey, qualified the weights, right? All for the Olympics. Did they do that?
4
out of the 6?
4 out of the 6, which is better. So I'm happy that we've got at least 4 going. Maybe we can get the other 2 in Greco and men. How many do the men get? How many do the freestylers get?
I think they have. I think they qualify everybody because everyone, like I think Snyder and Burroughs were already in,
Right.
and so I think they qualified all the weights. And with David Taylor too, I think they still got to qualify 65 kilos. Okay. Right, with Rutherford.
Rutherford, yeah, he got the bronze in the Pan American qualifier. And what about with the women? Did they get like 4 or 5?
I think they got them all.
Yeah, they
I
should.
think they got them all. Our women's team, there is so much depth. There's so much depth in the U.S. and in general for wrestling right now, on both in freestyle, Greco, and in women's. Like, it's just impressive. Like,
well, the women are doing it right with in college they're wrestling freestyle. Something to be said for that. So
that's a whole nother can of worms.
That's a whole
I agree,
buddy.
I know. Well, if football crashes and burns, we don't have college football, and you see the demise of Olympic sports at the NCAA level, maybe we'll switch to a model like more of the European and the rest of the world model, where it's club based, and slowly getting ourselves into just freestyle and Greco. And I can hear the coaches out in Western Virginia, and all those places where they've never seen a freestyle match. I don't want to do that freestyle stuff. That's gonna mess up their folk. That's gonna mess up their high school wrestling.
Whoa, Prebish.
Damn, Prebish.
Quarantine is affecting you.
Don't get me started.
He's going back to twitchy Prebish.
No.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to be twitchy Prebish. That'll come in September when I start training again.
What do we got next?
Well, I did mention the word training. I mean, what are your guys doing? Are you guys doing their own conditioning things, or are they just taking time and letting their bodies heal?
A little bit of both. I think a little bit of this is kind of a blessing in disguise. We got some kids that were kind of, I'm going to use the word burnt out a little bit, but some kids that definitely need some time off, right. And just needed some times away from the mat. So I think a little bit of this is a blessing, especially from the competitive side and like the hard training side. But for the most part, like Foss, what have you've been sending the kids stuff?
I didn't send one this week because I think like you said Shoop was setting some stuff up. But I've been sending just like some body weight things. I think next week I might share what Motley put up on YouTube. I would try it myself, but my Achilles, I can't really jump right now, but I'm going to get there soon. But that type of stuff, I haven't really gotten any, feedback onto how it's working, how it's not working, but.
Right.
I've been talking to the guys a lot. A lot of the kids are running, obviously doing a lot of body weight stuff. I mean, all I have at the house, I have 40-pound dumbbells and a 45-pound plate, and I'm just making it work in a jump rope. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. Like obviously I think a lot of stance of motion stuff and, a lot of, agility type things. You can be creative right now, and it's kind of fun. I read those books about like Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. He'd get bored in the woods, like in like the gym, and bring all his weights to the woods and stuff. Like, I mean, again, you just got to find a way.
Axe, sledgehammer.
Yeah.
You got an axe, you got a sledgehammer, you got a weight workout.
Yeah.
You know,
What are you guys doing? What are the St. Chris guys doing?
probably a lot of the same. You know, a lot of body weight stuff, a lot of cardio type things. And again, giving their bodies a little bit of time to rest, and you know, it was a quick season, but it was an intense season. The kids really worked hard. So, you know, having some time to just let the body heal and let the mind heal too. I think like when we come back together, whenever that is, you know, you're going to see wrestlers that are hungry and ready to go and excited to be on the mat. I mean, I know coaches are going to be like that. You know, we've been having like weekly coaches meetings, you know, through Zoom, just kind of talking about organizing things for the season, you know, what our expectations for the kids are, and meeting with the kids just to kind of just check in on them, see how they're doing, you know. You know, with my students at school, same thing, meeting with them once a week and just kind of getting a gauge on how they're surviving. Because, you know, think about it, none of us have, this is like the Great Depression. None of us have ever been through anything like this. You know, it's
uncharted territory. Exactly.
Definitely an adjustment across the board.
I know Swink's watching Spotsy on Twitter. Spotsy Wrestling on Twitter sends out like a workout every now and then. Those are pretty nice workouts. Very similar to what I do already.
Mark Fontana is coaching at Spotsy, so I think, you know, he's going to do a fantastic job. He's involved with us in Vawa. He's gonna be able to take those kids up to another level.
Nice.
I think it was a great pickup for both, you know, for both people, for Spotsy and for Mark, you know, because things didn't quite work out at Forge. I'm glad that he was able to, you know, land at a spot where he can continue his coaching career down here.
And he has support from the administration.
It's huge, yeah. Gotta have that. Gotta have that. I mean, you guys seem to have that at New Kent.
Yeah, we do well there. Yeah,
it's a great situation for us on that front.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, we do have the support that we need at St. Chris. You know, wrestling is one of those sports that it's if you're not directly involved, it's hard to understand why we do what we do. And you know, I think like for the average person, you know, again, it goes back to that kind of like, you guys are crazy. You know, just trying to really just bring, we're trying to really build a family kind of atmosphere from the top down, from the coaches, the administration, all the way down to our, you know, our elementary kids, and really building a sense of community and family. And I think, you know, you do that, it's really going to bring the school along. So, yeah, so that's
I tell people that New Kent is probably the most supported non-private wrestling program in the state. And
I believe that.
Just with monetarily and what the administration does for us, we
have to fundraise a little bit and stuff too, but for the most part, we're well taken care of. I mean, our athletic director is a former wrestling coach. And our administration are super supportive. They come to matches. Even our school superintendent, he was at more duels this year than I think.
He goes everywhere.
Yeah, he was at Virginia duels. He was at Power 5. He was everywhere. And that's a school superintendent. I mean, he does that for all the sports and activities in New Kent.
Yeah.
You know, this year, it's funny. We had an exchange student from Bulgaria, and he wrestled. And he was his host family was our headmaster, Mr. Leckie, and an opportunity came up for our exchange student to get in the lineup for the state tournament. So our headmaster spent basically all day. He spent a lot of time at our state tournament, and I think his son is in our youth program. So like really like getting the bug, and the wrestlers like were really good about, you know, taking the headmaster's son and talking with him and you know, getting him hyped up for wrestling. So it was pretty cool. You know,
that's huge.
Yeah,
that is good.
It's great to have it. You know, when your leadership supports you fully. Like our previous headmaster, Charlie Stillwell, he's now the headmaster at Episcopal, and we went up to the Melee on the Metro at
which Episcopal?
In Alexandria.
Okay.
Yeah, not Virginia Episcopal, the Episcopal school, Episcopal High School.
Coach Castle, he's still there, right?
Yes.
Great guy.
So we were going up to DC to wrestle the Melee on the Metro. We went up, I guess this was when it was a one-day tournament. So we went up Friday, and Castle let us into their facility to get a workout. And sure enough, Mr. Stillwell and his wife stopped up and watched practice, which was great. You know, this is our previous headmaster. So it was really cool for that to happen, you know, catch up. And it's just great when the administration gets that bug and they want to be part of it because they see, you know, what we're doing with our guys is just not just, I mean, from an athletic standpoint, yeah, but what we do off the mat, building those relationships with those kids is huge, you know.
You know who's also getting a lot of support from like their families and their program stuff? Atlee.
Yes.
Atlee, I mean, Gabe's doing a great job over there. I mean, there's tons of other programs and stuff. Powhatan, I mean, they're building. They kind of have a little thing going there with their youth and stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, so you're starting to see it where you're starting to see that support across the community, across the school system, with admin included, and you know, it's kind of fun because I think it's going to add a lot more parity. And obviously, Virginia, I think competitive wise, is getting a lot better. You know, just overall from top to bottom, but I think there's going to be a lot more parity in your, you know, state tournaments and stuff. And, you know, we know the baffling that is the VHSL. I think they're going to be making some improvements, though, here in the next couple of years.
Well, I just got a text message from one of our viewers, and there is a proposal for in 21-22 for a state dual meet championship for VHSL.
I think that's fantastic.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, I'm a big supporter of the New Jersey model, you know, where for your dual meet state tournament, you know, for your dual meet state champions, you can have as many divisions as you want. Yeah. You know, and you see in Jersey, they have a bunch of divisions. But when it comes time for the individual, they have one.
Yeah.
You know? I think the best kid from those 1A, 2A schools, from Grundy, from Poquoson, Clark County, you know, all those 1A, 2A schools, they can compete, you know, with the 6A kids. You know, it doesn't matter for the individual, like what the size of the school you're competing against. It's whether you're a good wrestler.
I think one thing that was a disappointment to me when they switched to the 6 state champions is how many coaches actually liked the format because they get to take a kid to states. It was easy to get to states, and so therefore the coach got to go to states.
Yeah,
I was surprised about that and disappointed.
Yeah.
Now, according to a couple of athletic directors that I've spoken to, including the one at New Kent, that they are looking to either going back to 3 or 4 for the next cycle, possibly. I think they're looking for that for all sports. So
I think 3 for wrestling is the most we should do.
Yeah.
You know, ideally, I mean, I could see the PA model with 2. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you want to have 6 dual meet state championships by division, by size, more power to you. But for the individual, 1 or 2, that way you'll have more college coaches coming. It'll make a tougher tournament. As it is now, you're not seeing college coaches going to many of the Virginia State tournaments. You know,
the ones that they want to see from Virginia for the most part are going to the Beast V. They're going to Ironman. They're going to the big tournaments. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see a Virginia State champ.
Yeah,
a Virginia State champ who can compete at those national tournaments.
Yeah, I mean they're looking for that. You know, and again, if we went back to a model where there was only 1 or 2 divisions, it's going to be way more competitive.
That being said, I think the easiest sell is going to be going back to 3 because that's what was done before, and then maybe they'll based on that, you know.
Yeah.
Go from there.
Path of least resistance, I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly, my man.
Yeah. So we've pretty much talked about everything. One of the last things.
Hey, we didn't talk about ODU.
Yes. Let me put the book down.
Yeah. We got to talk about ODU. Obviously, we all know the news and how upset, you know, the wrestling community is, and how, you know, how much of a hit, how you feel for those athletes, you feel for those coaches, how you feel for those recruits and the kids that maybe wanted to be monarchs. You know, you feel for them, you know, but obviously it's going to be tough to change. It's tough to admit it, but it's going to be tough to change. And we just got to make sure it doesn't happen in other places.
They made their decision, and they had a scapegoat, the whole quarantine virus thing, and it was their way of basically saying, yeah, you're done. They planned on doing what they were going to do.
I didn't see the interview that was released by Bryant.
Right.
What's that?
I just said I was agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not seen it. I need to look at it. As I mentioned to you guys before when we were talking before the show, I don't know how successful like the startup of football was for ODU. That's my question. I don't think that is going just from an outsider looking in, I don't think that is going as smoothly as they thought it would. Now, I might be wrong on that, but that's just an outsider looking in, not knowing much about the situation.
They seem to be doing well when they were in the championship subdivision instead of being a bowl team,
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think they kind of got greedy.
They also they joined a conference that travels a lot and lost a lot of big schools. Like they have to travel in their sports. They got to go out in other sports. They got to go out to Texas, I believe, and places like that.
Yeah. They hit in Brian's article on Matt Talk Online. You get to see a couple of the questions he was asked. He hits up on all those points, and the AD had a rebuttal for everything, and a lot of hoopla, and kind of was really just kind of check.
Oh.
Good body.
Frozen good body.
Good.
That's quite a. Oh wow! You gotta love technology.
No,
Guessing we just continue to fight.
Where? He's back.
You were frozen, dude.
Was I frozen?
Yeah.
Could you hear me still?
Man.
No, we couldn't hear you. You were like this.
Oh man, I had a great little monologue going too.
Yeah,
it was award winning. I was just talking about how I feel for the ODU guys.
I feel pretty bad for them. It sucks because that program's been around a long time.
Yeah, that's the thing. How it's been around so long.
Yeah. And they've been successful.
Yeah,
they've had All-Americans.
They get kids the nationals every year.
And the other impressive part is that their guys stay local and coach. The long list of coaches that are now coaching down there.
Motley, Small,
Motley being one of them, Eric Decker from Pocosin being another one.
He passed away this past year. He was an ODU guy. Summerlin,
Mark Strickland, all those guys.
Austin Coburn.
Yep. It was a way to keep
small.
Yep.
Yeah.
Small. I don't think the school handled it very well. But I think they had their decision made up well in advance of even having, their study. I think they were going to plan on doing that anyway, which was
the timing.
The guy that performed their study is a former VCU AD. He worked for school systems and universities that didn't offer wrestling or didn't offer football.
Yeah, he's from the conference. He ran people to the conference. But I also think that I think regardless of coronavirus, I think this was going to happen anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I don't think is right.
Yes.
Be truthful in what you're doing.
He cited that the numbers of wrestlers is declining, and it's kind of a niche sport, which it is, but it's not, and that it would the cost per year, but the AD's making almost 7 figures.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Prevish, I have a question for you. How many kids attend St. Chris?
From you talking upper school or total?
Let's just go the secondary, 9th through 12th.
Less than 400.
Less than 400. How many kids you get out for the wrestling program?
30 maybe.
30. Middle school level. Let's go 6th through 8th grade. You guys have a decent sized middle school program.
Yeah, we have. Well, this is the biggest it's been in the last couple of years. We had about 25 this year. And I think with the Richmond Wrestling Club, with our youth program, focusing in on our St. Chris community, as well as, rest of Metro Richmond. Our youth numbers are getting bigger, and I think, those kids that are going to go to St. Chris are going to give it a try. What we need to sustain is we need kids, that start with a youth program and like in any public school, like in PA, where they start young and just stay with it till they graduate,
I mean, you see the numbers though at like youth level growing. You see it at the clubs, like the high level clubs, Predator. You see their numbers growing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, women's wrestling numbers growing. Like, I hate when those numbers get talk about how like there's wrestling is decreasing when it's decreasing in some areas in some schools, but overall the numbers I think look at the numbers like Fargo, and like it's. I mean, obviously that's just more higher level kids training, competing, but the numbers are.
The Wawa folk championships, man.
Well, that's the thing about numbers. You can manipulate them any way you want, either in the positive or the negative. My dad has a very funny comment about numbers and statistics that's probably not appropriate. They're just the way that it's all about how you lie, get them down. I could probably say it better off camera because it's funnier that way, and I'm going to keep this PG. But numbers can be interpreted a lot of different ways. You can make them do what you want them to do. So it's frustrating and it's sad because it's such a program that's been around for such a long time and it's been successful. They've had All-Americans, they've put people on the podium, they get people to NCAAs, they have coaches, they have well-adjusted, people coming out of that program, and it's just the way it was handled. I don't think it was very, very good. So anyway,
we could talk all night about that, man.
Yeah.
You got your book.
Got my book. So last thing, and hopefully y'all can see this. This is a book by a former Virginia high school wrestler. He's, I think he just turned 60. Yeah, he was born in 1960. A guy named John Hanrahan. He was a couple times state champion at Falls Church High School. Was a two-time All-American at Penn State. Wrestled a little bit on the senior level in the early 80s and has been Veterans World Champion a number of times. This book is interesting on a couple different levels for me. One, because it's by this guy, John Hanrahan, was the inspiration for me to start wrestling. He was at Penn State his junior and senior year when I really started getting involved. So it's pretty cool to see a guy that I admired writing a book. And, as a health and physical education teacher, this book talks about his struggle after college with addiction. After he stopped wrestling after college, he had a very successful modeling career in New York. Like, he was on the cover of GQ and did a lot of big things. And this is his book about how he struggled with substance use. And, I think from a teaching standpoint, there's a lot of good stuff in here that really shows you what the depths of addiction is like, and how he got out of it and what's he doing now. And it's like, he's had this complete rebirth. He's a personal trainer, very, very successful personal trainer. Guy's 60 years old and he's in ridiculous condition. This guy is a fitness freak. My first year back wrestling in 2016, he was out in Vegas. I think that was his last year. So to actually get to wrestle a tournament with the guy who inspired me to wrestle is pretty cool. So if you get the chance, go to his Facebook page, Wrestling with Angels, John Hanrahan. It's a really good book, and he's a stand-up guy, and I admire his courage to tell his story, because it's hard to talk about addiction.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Hey, Prebes also has a couple books, so make sure you're reading Robinson Prebish's books as well.
Yeah. I'm busy trying to write some things while we have this free time. The time off the mat has really kind of inspired me to get back to writing. And
you're like
children's novels.
What's that?
I said children's novel.
it wasn't Bacon. It was Newton. He wrote a lot of his theories because of he was quarantined because of Black Plague.
Oh, that'll do it to you.
You're like him.
Yeah, but I'm
There
not.
you
Those
go.
pesky rats.
End of story.
Yeah, and it's the fleas that were on the rats.
Yeah.
Anyway, so well, fellas, that wraps up.
Are we doing this again, Prebish?
I don't know.
Bring out your dead.
I'm not dead yet.
Not dead yet. I feel happy.
I feel happy. For those people that are watching, I have no idea what we're talking about. That's Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It is a phenomenal movie. For people who say that they don't like Monty Python, they're lying.
That's the one. That's their coup de grace.
Yeah, so that's Life of Brian's pretty funny too, and
It was pretty funny.
and the Flying Circus television show has some really good bits. The Spam Cafe is probably one of my favorites. Anyway, well, we will have to have another Zoom meeting sometime soon, fellas, and talk about like where we want to go from next. I don't think this is like a one-shot deal, so maybe we can start making this a bi-weekly thing again. I mean, it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
Gregory, I can't turn on the lights. It's
if you are one of the 6 people listening to us right now,
thank you.
send messages to Prebish. What do you want us to talk about? We'll talk about anything. We'll talk about wrestling, obviously, but we'll talk about pop culture. We'll talk about music. We'll have Foss sing us songs.
Sure.
What do you want?
Talk about Andrew Jackson.
We talk about some history. That's fine.
Foss, what song do you want us to go out with?
You pick it, Prebish. I know the option.
Hey, shout out to the person that stole Prebish's bike. I hope it was not your size.
Okay, all right. So we'll finish this off with a story time, guys. Okay. I already told Goodbody and Foss this. So for me, my cardio, since my gym's been shut down, I've been riding a bike. I had a mountain bike, and I asked my landlord if I could lock it up between 2 8-foot gates that are padlocked. And I go out there yesterday to go out for my bike ride. I was really psyched up. I was going to go do like 12, 15 miles in an hour. I was really going to get after it. And I go down there and my bike is gone. So some jackass, I'm sorry that I'm using the word jackass, some jackass climbed over an 8-foot fence that's been padlocked onto the garbage cans and over to get my bike, then had to pick the bike up 8 feet over the fence, throw it over the fence, then climb back out. And I'm not a very tall person, so I have a small frame bike. All right. So I hope the person who stole my bike from downtown Richmond, I hope you're 6'5" and look like a freaking clown riding my bike around town. But I mean, yeah, I can use my renter's insurance, and I'm quite happy. It turned out happy ending. I got a new bike, and it's a better bike. It's a Cannondale.
Oh, look at that.
Fan of Cannondale bike. So yeah, you got lucky, dude, and you hope that I don't find you on the street.
Some 6'5", just athletic, former like basketball star riding Prebish's bike.
And I hope you fall off and crack your skull. Give me a song to take us home with, guys.
Take me home tonight.
I don't wanna.
All right.
Dude, I love doing Talkin wrestling again.
There we go. Okay. And there we go. We're coming. Oh, I got to turn it up. For the 6 of you that watched us, thanks for tuning in. This will be on YouTube, apparently forever. So enjoy. Post
Apparently forever.
page. Send me messages if you want stuff to talk about. So this is Talkin Wrestling, and we are out.